Welcome back to the channel. Today is the day we're going to do our 2023 Homewood Sound studio tour. And I'm excited to take you guys through all of the changes that have occurred in this space and the gear that I'm using and how I make my music in this space. So, you know, initially this space started out as just a demo space where I would take writing appointments in here, and I had a small Pro Tools rig that I kept set up in between the two windows, kind of out of frame here to my left. And I just always wanted to build a space out and create a space in my home where I could track full records and have total autonomy over when and how I wanted to record music. And so I finally just took a chance on myself and sacrificed my dining room, started doing a lot of research on building out panels and how to treat rooms and reflection points and all the stuff that you need to be mindful of if you're building a space out. It is a luxury to have a space like this, and I hope that you guys will be inspired by some of the choices that I've made and some of the hacks that I've come up with to get the most out of my space, and feel free to take them and co-opt them as your own. This whole place is about just constantly finding hacks and workarounds and getting the most mileage out of all the gear that you have, spending as little money as possible, but getting the best and biggest sounds as possible. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna take a look at the gear. We're gonna take a look at the space. We're gonna talk about the considerations when I was building the space out. I will say that there's gonna be a lot of stuff. You may feel like I breezed over some things. Almost every one of these rooms, I've done a specific video on the builds, on the drum room, on a lot of the gear, on my tracking rig, on the monitoring systems that I'm using. There's so much, a wealth of videos that I encourage you, if you haven't seen them before, if you're new to this channel, to check those out. And if you like what you see on there, I want to ask you to hit the subscribe button, turn your notifications on, join the community that we have going on here, and welcome aboard. I'd love for you to drop me a comment, tell me a little something about yourself, what you've got going on in your own space, what you're working on, what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to achieve. And if you like the video, hit the like button. All right, so enough talking. Let's take a look at some of this gear. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is this desk. This is the Dangerfox Genesis 24U mastering style recording desk. And what I love about this, I'm running a hybrid setup. So I'm running Pro Tools, of course, but I also am running analog pre's. And I love being able to have everything right here in front of me. So I'll go through what I've got here. I did get the MIDI tray, which I love, to be able to work on playing piano stuff here. This is a M Audio Key Station 88. It's got semi-weighted keys. For the money, it totally gets the job done. On the left side, we have our Warm Audio WA273 pre's. And these are, when I'm tracking full band stuff in here, these are always dedicated to the drums. I have 6 channels with EQ, 4 channels without EQ. And the way that I have them set up, I've got the snare in, snare out, kick in, kick out, and overheads being EQ'd. And then I have the toms and the room mics going through non-EQ. In the middle, I have my Apollo X16 interface and my trusty SSL UF8 controller that I love. To be able to write automation with a fader and not do it with a mouse, that alone makes it worth getting. But also it just can do so many different things, and there's so many customizable things that you can do with it. I love it. Got a few Cappy pre's in here. Got a pair of VP28s and a VP312. About to add some stuff to that lunchbox. And then just got a Warm Audio WA273, their version of the 1176, and an Empirical Labs distressor, and then this DBX 286 channel strip that I have running to my, I love that channel strip. It's really kind of made for broadcasting stuff, but it pairs great with the SM7. This SM7 has the Truman Audio answer mod on it, and what that does, I have a video on that as well. But the cool thing about that mod, if you use an SM7B, you already know, the gain output on it is very, very low. So you need to use a cloud lifter or some sort of clean gain boost to give you some headroom when you're tracking with it. And what this does is adds phantom power to the mic, super clean high quiet output, quiet gain, and it also gives you access to all of the things on the back that you want that you can't get to with a normal SM7B. So you've got the mid boost and the low cut on it, and as well as a switch for the phantom power. So if you want to run it, if you got a cloud lifter, which I do, and you want to try it without it, if you feel like you're not getting what you want out, you can just turn the phantom power off and run it with a cloud lifter. So to have those options, love this, is having it set up here. Also have an Apollo Twin X. And I run the sessions with this. I love having the talk back right here to be able to communicate with the band, and makes everything super smooth and easy for me. For my reference monitors, right now I love these Oratone powered cubes, and then I've got my Focal Solo 6Bs, and I love those Focals. That's the nicest set of reference monitors I've had so far. I came from a pair of Yamaha HS8s to the Solo 6Bs, and what a world of difference that was for me. Love, love, love the way that they sound. That's the desk. I've got a pair of Samson patch bays over there, and then another XLR patch bay. So the way that I have this whole setup going is the snake that's in the drum room is fed into this XLR patch bay, which is then fed into the Samson patch bays and into the interface. And it makes it very, very easy to patch things in, patch things out here, and keep moving. Running the old iMac. This is a 2019 27-inch iMac. It has a Intel i9 processor in it, and I also have 128 gigs of RAM in this. So went to OWC, which is a great resource of going and buying third-party memory, and man, this machine cranks out the jams. It is awesome. I've got the Behringer PowerPlay 16 headphone systems, and there are a lot of headphone monitoring systems out there, but for me, for the money, you'd be hard pressed to beat the Behringer. And I've got a whole video on using the Behringer P16 system with the Apollo setup and how to use your cue outputs to get the most out of that and really leverage as much as you can with that as a video. If you're running any kind of Apollo setup and you're thinking about adding a headphone system to that setup, check that video out, because I go through and save you guys a lot of time and headache that I went through trying to get mine set up. Got over here my Sir Badger 18. That's my tracking amp. It is running to a ISO cab that's in the back in my guest bedroom where I keep it, and makes being able to quickly get in here and work with the band perfect. Another kind of hack thing is having this little roll cart desk. I've mounted some power under it so I can power my Tascam digital recorder if I'm doing screen grabs off of the iMac, or needing to front end my Sennheiser MK416, which I have over here, which is usually what I'm recording audio with. But this thing's great. So keeping it on wheels, I've got power to it. So if I need to power anything up, it also raises and lowers. So if I'm doing talking head stuff and I need something up here, I can do that. Or if I can just put it down, it just gives me extra room at the desk to be able to keep my notebook and to make notes, keep my all my handy, mixing guides and all the things that you should have close to you if you are recording at home. Just makes it really easy. And I'm all about the hacks. Vibe is very important. You'll see with the lighting in here, I can change this lighting with this. I've got Wi-Fi smart bulbs in here that you can change colors on, so I can go change the vibe if I want to. Whatever you need to do to, especially if you're working with clients, it makes it so cool to be able to kind of give them, set the mood. If I'm in here mixing, if I'm in here practicing piano, sometimes it's early in the morning and I want to be able to just super vibe out. And then other times, I'm in here setting sessions up and I need to be able to see really good what I'm doing and crank the light up. But having a variety and having your space be something that has a feel to it and adds character, personality to the recordings that you get out of it, I feel like that's a big thing. Above me, I've got a 2-panel cloud that I built that really helps when I'm mixing in here. You've got panels all around to deaden things. I've got a set of louver doors back behind me that do a great job of diffusion. And I also have heavy-duty sound blankets that actually will cover that entire cased opening if I need that. But again, it's just having a variety, being able to have things where you need them, when you need them, and quickly. You know, if you're working in a home studio environment, being able to close those spaces off and deaden them is great. What I've done in my space, which really makes a tremendous difference, I made a panel for every one of the windows that's in here, and they're not in here right now. You can see when I'm in here and I'm not recording, if I'm just in here writing, or even sometimes when I am recording, if they're not going to make an impact in it, I like to be able to get some natural light in here. And other times I'll put the panels in. The panel in the drum room usually stays in there. What I have done, so I've got the panels, and then I have grommeted moving blankets, and I have heavy duty sound reinforcement curtains going over every window and over the cased opening in between the drum room and the control room. So it allows you to really kind of close these spaces off and limit what kind of echoes and kind of room noise you're going to get that you may or may not want. Sometimes you want the sound to be bigger and have more kind of acoustic vibe to it. Other times you need it to be dead and to be able to create that space in a small environment in your home. Really, a lot of the choices that I've made in this room are just about being able to do things quickly, to have things convertible where you can move everything. I try to keep as much as possible everything on wheels as I can so that I can create the spaces that I need depending on what I'm working on in here. And to really just find affordable hacks for things that may be super expensive in a commercial studio. Let's go take a look at this drum room and walk you through everything that's going on in there. All right, so let's start out in the drum room. So let's see, the first things we would discuss is how the treatment of the room. So this was my dining room, and there is another video that I'll have linked at the end of this video for you to go check out. That is a thorough walkthrough of this drum room and everything that's all the gear that we're using. But let me first kind of talk about the treatment of this. This was my dining room originally, and it's just kind of a square box, 8-foot ceilings. So there's only so much you can do with it, right? It's carpeted. So what I did was I've got some exercise mats underneath this rug to decouple, so that I've got a basement underneath this floor so that the drums kind of don't boom out. And it does a great job doing that. I also have these 2 clouds that are hung on a vault in here to really my objective is to create a space where there's no 90-degree angles. So the drum kit is in the corner, and we've got these gobos kind of everywhere. And you'll see as a theme in this studio, everything as much as possible is on wheels and is modular, where it's a convertible space where you can use it for a lot of different stuff. And I feel like in a home studio, that is something that you really need to pay close attention to and get the most mileage out of your space. So 10 channels going to the drums. What we're using for mics, I'll quickly go through them. I'm not gonna do any kind of deep dive again. There's a video on this. Snare top and bottom, I'm using a Shure SM57. For the kick in and out, I'm using the out kick is a Peluso P87. Kick in is a Shure Beta 52A. My overheads are Neumann KM184s. For toms, I'm using these Sennheiser E604 claw mics. I have the crotch mic, which is basically used as a room mic, and is really my favorite mic sound of bringing the drums, the full kit out. It is a Sennheiser 421. And then for the room mics, I use different stuff. I've got some ribbons that I'll use from time to time. I've got some Audio-Technica AT4040s that I love using, and some different stuff. Sometimes I'll use the Warm Audio WA273, but what I'm using right now is an Aston Origin large diaphragm condenser mic. Love this mic. For the money, it's just hard to beat that Aston Origin mic. It's a do-all mic, and it just sounds excellent. I've got a DI run over here. That's the bass station. So I've got a radial J48. All of the inputs are going from this Proco 12-channel snake into my patch bay in the control room, and the drums are being fed into my Warm Audio WA273s, and then the bass is going into a Cappy VP28. I know there's a lot of you that are going to ask, and you've been asking, and I've been promising you this video on how I built out all these panels and how to wrap them, how I got the finish on them, all that stuff. I'm here to tell you there's a video coming in the next couple of weeks that's going to be specifically that. I've got some more panels to build, so I'm working on it. Thank you guys for your interest. If there's any videos that you want to see, drop me a comment. Let me know what it is that you're into. If you have any questions about how I did anything on here, drop me a comment. I try to respond quickly to all the comments that are up there, and would love to talk some shop with you guys. What else? I've got some track lighting in here. One thing I will say, if you're gonna use LED track lighting in any kind of recording studio capacity, make sure that, especially if you're planning on using a dimmer switch, make sure that you spend the money and get the best, I think it's a low voltage dimmer switch. It's about $100, but it will make them dead quiet. Otherwise, you're gonna get some noise that you're not gonna want in your recordings, and it's critical for me to be able to change the environment in these spaces. Sometimes you want it to be, you know, super bright so that you can get things set up like you want to, but when you're tracking in here, a lot of times you just wanna kind of keep things mellow and set the vibe. One thing that I do plan on changing relatively soon is my bass catches. Those are some, you know, high density foam bass catches, and they have gotten the job done. The drums are sounding great in here, but I want to do something a little more pro in here, and that's definitely on the list. As we come out of the drum room and come into the control room, we're behind the desk right now, and this is a space that I use as a vocal booth. Again, one of the great things about having everything on wheels, the gobos that are in the drum room when I'm in here tracking vocals, if I need to, especially if I'm working with someone else and I want to isolate this space off, I can put one here, put one here. You got a panel here, there's deadening here, and you really can get a very, very treated vocal booth feel out of the recording. A lot of times I'll just take that and go on the other side of the desk and track, because I'm usually engineering by myself, but having options is great. Sometimes you want that really dead right here in front of you kind of sound. Other times you want to have a little room vibe in it, and especially if you're working with another singer, if I'm in here tracking somebody else, it's not my music, well, I want them to be most comfortable however they want to sing. And sometimes they don't want to be closed off into a little booth. Sometimes they want to be with me, getting my reaction to what they're doing. It makes the workflow oftentimes a lot quicker, but it's good to have options. All right, next we're going to take a look at the acoustic guitars we've got over here. And there's a video again on this guitar caddy. There's two of them. I've got one for my electric guitars, one for my acoustic guitars, so that when I am tracking, I can just roll this entire boat over to wherever I'm tracking and have these guitars handy. Again, keeping everything as much as possible modular, so you can move things where you need them and quickly get them out of the way, put them back where they go, all that kind of stuff. But I'm getting ready to cut this Americana record, and I'm gonna have a lot of acoustic guitars on them, so the guitars are all getting set up. This is Martin HD28. An amazing guitar. Written a bunch of songs on that recently, just recently got that. This is the guitar that I learned on. This is a Yamaha FG480S. This is an early 80s kind of Martin clone. Let's talk about what it is. It's got rosewood back and sides, spruce top like a Martin. It's got an ebony fretboard on it, and I love the way this guitar sounds. I think it's an open G right now. Dead strings, and it'll be the next to go get set up. And I'm gonna actually keep this in Nashville tuning for this record to be able to do that. Talk about this Takamine. This is the first nice acoustic guitar that I ever got, and I love this guitar. It's a jumbo, cedar top, mahogany back and sides. Just got back from getting a setup on it. It has historically lived in open E. It's in standard now, but nothing sounds like this guitar. And the more that the strings get dead, the better it seems to sound. What else? We've got the old trusty J45. As we all know, it's a spruce top, mahogany back and sides. Again, another just, I don't know if this is in tune, almost in tune. Sounds incredible. And then lastly, you know, the obligatory classical guitar. So especially, sounds great tracking, and I love riding on this. It's just an easy kind of mellow guitar to have around. That's most of the acoustics. There's a few floating around, a few that are cased up that are getting ready to be set up. My 12 string is cased up with a humidifier in it. If you're not hip to keeping your acoustics humidified, let me just give you a pro tip on this. Feel the back behind the bridge on your acoustic guitars. If you don't feel a slight arch in there, a natural arch, if it feels bone flat, or especially if it's concave, you need to go get a humidifier for your guitar and put it in the case for about a week, sponge it. There are DIY ways that you can make, you know, homemade humidifiers, but they're to get the Planet Waves ones with the a really dense sponge they have in them. So you only have to do it about once a week by hydrating that sponge, and you just set it down in the sound hole. It nests in between the strings and makes a huge difference. 1 week can be a game changer, and it'll save the lives of your acoustic guitars, especially if you keep them out like I do. I rotate them through the cases now because I've run into some problems in the past when I didn't do that. And you spend a lot of money on these instruments. The last thing that you want to do is just take your eye off the prize and have the bridge pull up on it, or have you know, bracing issues. All right, so now let's take a look at these electric guitars. The first one, this is kind of my main guitar these days when it comes to humbuckers. This is a Gibson Custom Shop Historic Reissue. It's a mid-90s R757 gold top reissue. It's got some Peter Florence pickups in it. Rest in peace, Peter Florence. If you know, you know. These are a custom wound set of shoe pickups. They were actually wound for my SG, and I just kind of preferred the 57 Classics that are in this SG. This is a 61 reissue SG. Again, it's a pretty old one. I say old. I think it's a late 90s, one of the first years that they did it. But love this guitar. Great for playing slide on, and if you need to get up the neck, it's just you know, for those of you guys who play SGs, you know. One thing I want to say is all the straps pretty much that I use on my guitars are Couch guitar straps. I'll link them in the description below. They are an American company. They're based out of California, and they use some really cool old luggage vinyl and automotive vinyl, and do a lot of really cool straps. I love giving them my money and repping their products because they make cool stuff. You've got the Gretsch, and this is a Korean-made Gretsch. It sounds pretty good. It's got the vibe. It has a block to the center, so it's similar to a 335. But you've got the master volume, two tones, and at some point, I'm probably going to sell this and get a 335. Been wanting one for a while. We got a Telecaster. Got vintage pickups in it. This is a new guitar though, a new-ish guitar. It's probably 12 years old. I did a swimming pool route, so it's routed all the way in here. This was just a 60s reissue that I got off a buddy of mine. Routed it. It's got a 62 or 63 rewound tele pickup in it, and then the neck pickup is out of a 72 Deluxe Telecaster thin line, I believe. And got these from my buddy Jess Franklin. Actually, this guitar was his, and so he gave me the guitar, sold me the pickups. I've gutted it. It's got, you know, RS Guitar Works wiring harness in it. I've swapped the saddles out. The saddles are from a Jazzmaster. It's got a new set of frets on it. So it's kind of a bastardized guitar, but this, if I'm only bringing one guitar to a gig, I'm bringing this guitar because it can kind of do everything. Having this route in here gives it that kind of semi-hollow, honky kind of sound, and just these pickups match perfectly, and I absolutely love this guitar. There's nothing like a Telecaster, and yeah, that's that. Next, we'll take a look at what else is in here. We got the Stratocaster. This is a 54 reissue Strat in Aztec Gold. Not something you see a whole lot. Love this guitar. It's gone through a lot of incarnations over the years. It's got a set of frets on it. Took all the finish off the back of the neck. It really plays like butter. I've changed the block out in it. I've changed kind of everything. The pickups, I've had Fralins in here. I've had David Allen pickups in here. I've had Texas Specials, a couple different varieties of those in here. And what I have in here now, which are the best pickups that I've found for what I want out of this Strat, is these are Lawler Dirty Blackface pickups, I believe is what they are. And man, this guitar is something special. My favorite Strat. And then, let's see, this is most of the guitars. There's a few things floating around that aren't in here. This is on loan. This is just a baritone guitar, working on some parts for this new record I'm about to cut. And that comes in handy. And then of course the Dan Electro electric 12 string. So with those guitars, I can get pretty much everything I need. I've got another Telecaster and a couple other electrics that I'll use for different stuff. But usually I'm going for either the SG Les Paul or that Telecaster, getting what I need. And then for some different flavors, I'll try some different stuff. But got a few amps in here, and really, this is just for working parts out. This is a Blues Junior. It's loaded with a Celestion Creamback, 65 watt Celestion Creamback. Killer sound and amp. I'll take this to gigs if it's kind of a light gig. And then I've got a bunch of different cabinets here. Some are on loan, some belong to me, but being able to experiment with different cab configurations. So that's a 410, but it's split off into there's two sets of 10s in there, and you can run it either as a 410 or two 10s. And I'll sometimes pair it with that Sur Badger 18 that I've got over there we'll look at in just a second, but I've got a bunch of amps, and that comes in super handy when you're in here tracking, and especially when you get to kind of recording guitars, which I'm almost there with the Royal Velvet EP right now. I'm starting to experiment with the sounds that I'm trying to get for this album, and so much fun. So now we'll go back and take a look at where I keep this ISO cab and how I have things set up back here. So this room doesn't get used a ton. You can see it's just a place to stockpile cases and C-stands and mic stands and merch. So these are the panels that go in the windows in the control room. And when I'm not using them, I'll keep them back here, but just kind of show you what we're working with here. Looking forward to building some more of these and showing you guys how I did all that. But this is the key to what I get done here. This is my Rivera Silent Sister. I've got a 75 watt Celestion Creamback in here. There are two gooseneck mic stands in here. I've pulled one of them out. I've just got a 57 on that currently, and love the way that it sounds. I've got a great video on the Silent Sister and the Sur, just on my tracking rig. And what I love about it is, one, that the Sur is just 18 watts, and it's got a master volume, it's got drive and gain on it, so you can really dial in almost any kind of tone that you want, especially leveraging the analog pre's, to where if I need it to be super, super clean, I can just roll the gain up on the pre and keep the everything really rolled out of the amp. And then it's going back to this ISO cab, which is back here in the back, and you just don't even hear it. It just, especially when we're tracking, get basic tracks with the band, for my band, it makes work just really, really, really easy. And then as I get into getting keeper guitar tracks, I'll break out the big boys, and we'll go through that. But all right, in the spirit of keeping things modular and convertible, One of the challenges that I had was finding a place to have a mic locker. So we'll go in here and take a look-see. All right, so this is just a Harbor Freight tool cart, right? Put some foam in it. What do we got in here? Got a 421, a set of AT 440s. These mics, man, if you're just getting started and you're not really ready to spend a ton of money on expensive large diaphragm condensers, that whole AT 40 line, Audio-Technica makes some great mics. I love tracking acoustic guitars with these. Sound amazing. Next to that, I've got a set of Cascade Fathead 2 ribbon mics. This is just a kick drum mic, some other small diaphragm condensers. But what I typically have is this would be all the dynamic mics. It would be the 57s typically go in here. So these are drum mics in this drawer, 57s, and this is a Beta 87. Yeah. But just a spot to keep everything where it always goes. You've got in here, you've got the shock mounts and little headphone amplifiers, some other mics, you know, all the kind of stuff you need, pop filters, all that kind of jazz. And then a catch-all drawer. And then have a place to keep all the cables. And again, if I'm wiring up a drum kit, I'll just pull this into the other room. And then it typically just kind of lives in here in the foyer. And you can see we've got the lights for the videos. And just like that. Out of the way, exactly what we need. We'll go downstairs and take a look at the rest of the amps. So I've got a variety of guitar amps in here, just stuff I've been collecting. Probably like a lot of you guys, I am a gear freak. We'll go down here and show you guys the rest of this space. So I've got another tracking room down here. It's typically just used as a rehearsal space, but I do keep it mic'd up. Sometimes I also shoot video content down here. And yeah, as you can see, we have another kit. The kit that's in the drum room upstairs is a PDP maple kit. And this is a Gretsch Catalina birch kit. Got the acrylite on that. That's a killer sound of snare, rock and roll snare, love it. Everybody needs an Ampeg SVT. It's 610, makes everything better. And then as far as amps down here, that is a 1972 Fender Super Reverb. That's a 1975 Marshall Mark II 100-watt master volume. I do have a post-phase inverter master volume on it, on the back of it, so I can really dial that amp down and get whatever I want out of it. Got, again, that's that Marshall cab is loaded with 4 Celestion creambacks, 65-watt creambacks, and dude, it sounds so good. And then this is my main gigging rig these days. This is a 1972 high-watt custom 50, and it's running through a Germino small box 212 open back that has Celestion G1265s in it. And I took the badge off of it. I just like it a little better. It looks more clean that way. But love how light that cab is, and the pairing between that and the high watt, best sounding amp I've played through. And then of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't show off the brown box. And this is just a voltage regulator, especially if you're playing in bars and you're playing vintage amplifiers. Having a voltage regulator that's going to really help you keep things dialed in terms of what kind of steady power you're getting. You can also make this sag the amp. It's an expensive piece of gear, but if you're playing vintage amps, you should go out and get one right now if you don't already have one, because it's going to allow you to really get the most out of your vintage amps, and it's also going to protect those amps from any kind of power spikes and clubs with bad power. And we all know that there's a bunch of those out there. And then I just keep this is what I track with down here a lot of the time. I'll go into that Tascam recorder, and this is just a Rode NTK tube condenser. It has been modded out. It's got a Telefunken tube in it, and it also has an AKG C12 capsule in it. It just sounds awesome. Love that microphone. It was the first tube condenser microphone that I got, and the first kind of nice mic that I put money into and modded out, and couldn't be happier with it. Do have some PA stuff down here, but really this is where, as a band, we're writing songs, we're running rehearsals, hosting kind of parties. This is my pedal board that I gig with, and I have a huge video on it, walking through all of it. I'm running the Boss ES8 switching system, which makes being a frontman of a trio where you're also the guitar player, it makes it very convenient. Running some vocal effects here, and then I'm just working from like right here, and it's controlling all these pedals. So hope you guys dig it. All right, my friends, that is gonna be our 2023 Homewood Sound studio tour. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd love to know what you thought about my space, any of the takeaways you got, any questions that you have. Drop me a comment, let me know. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. You made it 30 minutes with us. Sorry for the long video, sometimes they get long. Hit the like button if you like the video. All the things that we do here to push this channel forward, it takes very little effort on your end and helps me out tremendously. Keeps me inspired and putting these videos out. I'm Justin Brogdon. Until next time, you guys keep being great to each other. Keep doubling down your dreams. We'll be seeing you very soon. Peace.